So, a little bit about the trajectory on how I started law as a career. I did my schooling from school in Agra, after which I spent a year doing BCom honors from North Campus in Delhi from Sri Ram College of Commerce. After which, a couple of us friends decided to take the law exam. At that time, CLAT was not there, so we took separate and respective law college exams, and I was fortunate enough to get through NALSA, University of Law, Hyderabad, and that's how my career in law, my schooling in law started. So I spent good 5 years there, and then graduated out of NALSA University of Law in 2007. And I was fortunate to have a pre-placement offer from PNA Law offices during my fifth year, which is where I started my career as a legal professional. So every place that I've worked with has given me notable experiences, of course. So during my stint at PNA Law offices, I've had the opportunity to work on several key and marquee matters, which gave me the exposure to cross-border transactions, including US and UK clientele. This was actually a sink or swim exercise because they were very critical transactions of which I was a part of. And it was a great learning. And as I always say, every individual has their own incentive, whether in the form of learning or a monetary incentive or a good working atmosphere. I think learning for me means a lot. So there was a steep learning curve in PNL offices, especially towards the non-resident and foreign clients. I've also had the opportunity to work in-house with an infrastructure conglomerate, during which I got exposed to the financial and business side of things, the technical side of things. So that gives you a holistic and comprehensive overview and of the requirements at hand, and then you can become a true business partner, so to speak, in the scheme of things. In the other firms that I've worked with, I've got a great opportunity to work alike for domestic and international clients. So that has been a great experience so far, including some very prestigious matters wherein the importance of collaborative work has come to the forefront. I always think that, for being a good lawyer, you need to have a blend of many skills. Of course, research and analytical skills are the key, but at the same time, advocacy, counseling, and documentation skills are very important for a corporate lawyer. So I got an opportunity to hone those and fine-hone those skills while working with several firms, including my current firm, Link Legal, wherein I am part of several transactions, both resident and non-resident clients, and spanning across the corporate area, including projects, banking, finance, M&A, strategic alliances, private equity, venture capital, so on and so forth. At Link Legal, I co-lead the general corporate practice, and every day looks like a blend of both execution and administrative work for me. So I lead most of the transactions that we take up as a team, and in terms of focus being corporate restructurings, investment transactions, private equity, banking, finance, and the core thrust of our firm is on energy and infrastructure. So there are many transactions at any point of time which are live, which we deal with in the infrastructure space. So as a transaction lead, I have to advise clients in respect of their requirements, whether on an advisory level or on a transactional level. And any typical day or an average day would look like a perfect blend of both implementation and administrative work. Because after a point of time, you take up administrative work streams as well. So those form equally an integral part of your job description as a practitioner of law and as a businessman of law. So I have to keep a blend of both, and any average day would take up 5 to 6 hours of good and core execution work on the transactions as a practitioner of law, while the remaining 3 or 4 hours go into administration, whether in terms of billing the clients or making the team more efficient, or trying to manage the people in my team, or allocating the different work streams, or taking an overview of the larger transaction and the bigger picture. So that's how my average day at LinkedIn looks like. I think there are quite a few areas that you mentioned, and I've always believed that a collaborative setup, particularly in the context of a law firm, is an extremely critical aspect. And all these areas that you mentioned require a collaborative teamwork, especially these days when we are advising clients, because the clients are equally sharp, if not more, and they would want their advisors to be cutting edge and to be as extensive and intensive in their knowledge of business as well as the law. So what really excites me is a bit about corporate restructurings, because that is something, wherein we can add a lot of value to the particular transaction at hand, wherein we align both the business and the regulatory requirements, and then give a harmonious solution to the client as a package. And this particularly interests me because I can utilize the skills that I have, or I have acquired through the previous learnings, through the previous stints at various places, and then give a holistic and comprehensive solution to the business at hand. Of course, corporate reorganizations and restructurings form the part of structuring the transaction, after which, of course, the life cycle of the transaction starts, and that equally excites us more. So, in this law firm where I am, I think we lay and emphasize a lot on corporate restructurings, because that defines, designs, and contextualizes whatever is to come as the next steps. So once you have a right structure, as they say that in medical science also, if you have the right diagnosis, the remedy will follow, and a right diagnosis is 50% cure. Similarly, in law, we believe that the right structure, in terms of the legal structure or the regulatory structure that you are envisaging, or that you are basically crystallizing for the transaction, is, I think, 40 to 50% job done, because then I think all the right next steps will follow accordingly. In terms of the entry strategies to various multinational corporations into India, I think I can highlight 2 or 3 critical challenges that have come across during my experience as the legal advisor. Number one is, of course, when we harmonize the multinational corporations' existing structure and their proposed structure in India, that itself poses a lot of challenges, because those multinational corporations may have a typical regulatory structure to follow in their country of origin, and that may or may not be the case in India, or that may or may not be permissible in India. So how to make it compliant, and how to make it actually aligned with the business approach and strategy of the business, that's of course one of the challenges. The second is, more than the external regulatory environment, the internal requirement. So many US clients have a structure whereby they contract out the liability of the director. This is just an example. Contract out the liability of directors or the key people in terms of the day-to-day operations. But can you do that in India? We'll have to devise a clever structure which is compliant and, again, aligned to the business approach. So both the external as well as external structures and functional frameworks of the multinational corporations which are looking to set up shop or start business in India, they have to be aligned and well defined. Secondly, of course, in terms of compliance requirements. So as we know that in India, there's no dearth of laws. There's no dearth of legislative frameworks, whether at the central level, the state level, even at the local level. But implementation and execution can be a challenge more often than not. So how to ensure that effective implementation of laws, of all the consents, approvals, of the licensing and registrations which are required for such businesses to operate seamlessly and in compliance with the applicable law, that becomes not a challenge, but that is a key performance area for us. That's a major KRA for us, to ensure that yes, all the laws are effectively and in spirit complied with. Number three is, of course, how business is conducted offshore and how business is conducted in India may sometimes vary. How you deal with the public officials, how you deal with the regulatory agencies. There are certain legislations which govern the public dealings and the regulatory and the government dealings. So, how do you actually not fall short of your legal obligations and at the same time achieve the business targets? So, the dichotomy, or rather, the moot issue is to be able to run your business, to be able to achieve your targets, and to be able to achieve your business outcomes, and at the same time remain fully compliant with the law, regulation, and the norms. So that is the usual challenge that we face. But of course, as lawyers, we find a solution. We try to find a solution to that in order to achieve a harmonious outcome. I think my advice would be again, limited to what I have been able to acquire in my first-hand experience. And as they say that, lawyers who by nature of their work, they are well positioned to provide a direction and leadership to the nation. So if we work backwards with that particular aphorism, I think in addition to the research, analytical, and counseling skills, a good lawyer or the budding aspiring lawyers should have a blend of good documentation skills, because that is bread and butter and meat and substratum of any successful lawyer, and good negotiation and craftsmanship. So craftsmanship is more in the context of litigation lawyers. So I will focus more on negotiation skills, and that is very much required by a good lawyer. So good professional should know exactly, how to negotiate and how much to negotiate. So negotiation should never be in the form of just, arguing for the sake of argument, but should add value. So, and also in several occasions, silence speaks more than words. So, to know the right art and the basic techniques, tips, and tricks, and the craft of negotiation is very important, because it helps you meander your ways through your team internally, through your clients on one side, and through the opposite side on the other. So I think the whole ecosystem, when you sit in a boardroom, you may have a lot of conflicting incentives, but your skills of negotiation helps you sail through that conflicting interests and arrive at a solution that is a win-win solution for all. Because the beauty of a corporate lawyer is it's not one against the other, it's one with the other. So if you remember in the early part of my interview, I mentioned that a collaborative setup is more important. So how you collaborate with your internal teams, with your clients, with the counterparties, with the regulators is very, very important to achieve the right outcome. And that is what I would advise to all the aspiring lawyers, to budding lawyers, to master that art. And the way to master that art is to actually, listen carefully. When you're a part of the team, you learn a lot from your colleagues, from your mentors, from your peers, from your partners, etc. And that's when you do an active listening, which then, of course, becomes a part of your subconscious knowledge and comes to the conscious level, once you're doing that firsthand. So that would be my advice. And that would really help in becoming a true business partner to any of the clients, because that basically means that you're not only controlling the cost, but you're also remedying the problem. So both as a dispute preventer and cost controller and a remedy agent, you can prove your worth in front of your clients.